Apparently, Back to the Future turned 30 this year. That fact is both sobering and an excuse to cover it here on the show. Besides, we're due for a family-friendly episode, and this shit's going to be wholesome as f***. Here are 9 things you didn't know about Back to the Future. Probably. Let's start off with one huge thing that would have completely changed the Back to the Future franchise because it would have changed Marty McFly. See, Michael J. Fox wasn't the original Marty. Eric Stoltz, Lance from Pulp Fiction, had the role first.
Out of my way.
They even shot about 5 weeks of the film with him. Unfortunately, director Robert Zemeckis and the other filmmakers felt that Stoltz just wasn't giving the right performance for the role. So they made the impossible ask to Universal to fire him and reshoot all of those weeks of work with Michael J. Fox. Obviously, they got what they wanted, but it wasn't easy to make it all work once Michael J. Fox signed on, which segues perfectly into thing number 2.
It's like Dachshunds.
Yeah, I know. If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
Even after the awkwardness of firing Eric Stoltz and getting Michael J. Fox to agree to play Marty, there was another huge problem: family ties. Michael J. Fox was still starring on the hit show, so the showrunners only agreed to let him do Back to the Future if family ties would remain his first priority. In other words, he wouldn't get any time off from the show to work on the movie, not even a half day if he was needed at Family Ties. So Michael J. Fox would work a full day on the sitcom from 9 to 6, then they'd take him to the movie set in a station wagon that had a bed in the back so he could hopefully grab a nap on the way, then he'd shoot at Universal as late as 4 or 5 in the morning. After wrapping, they'd take him home and literally have to carry him into his house and drop him in his bed so that he could get up and do it all over again the next day.
Marty, you didn't fall asleep, did you?
Doc. No, don't be silly.
Michael J. Fox did this Monday through Friday for the whole production, and he would also shoot a 6th day on Saturdays with Back to the Future, since that was the only time they'd be able to get daytime exteriors with him. So, Michael J. Fox was living on just 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night, which sounds fucking miserable. I mean, it was worth it, but that really sounds like it sucked.
Just how important is the heart?
The DeLorean time machine is a movie icon, but it was almost a refrigerator. Zemeckis and his co-writer-producer Bob Gale had first written Back to the Future with a time chamber rather than a time machine, which would have been made out of a refrigerator. As they continued developing the script, they became worried that kids would start locking themselves in refrigerators and figured it might not be the best idea to put that idea in their stupid little kid heads. Plus, they also realized that the time machine needed to be mobile, so that you could take it with you on your adventures. And why did they pick, of all vehicles, a DeLorean? Basically, they picked it because they wanted to be able to put this joke in.
What is it for?
Looks like an airplane without wings.
By the way, boom! That's a bonus thing you didn't know.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
You know this part where Doc sends Einstein on the test trip in the time machine? Well, you probably didn't know that in some of those shots, that's a stunt guy in a dog suit. Hey, it is a lot easier to put a dude in a dog costume than it is to rig a DeLorean time machine to be operational with a remote control. Or to teach a dog to drive, for that matter. So stop being a dick about it.
The future. Unbelievable.
Back to the Future 2 has some parts that take place in 2015, so it's kind of funny to see what the filmmakers thought the world would look like now compared to how it actually turned out. Take this scene in the alley. You may have noticed those crates of laserdiscs in with the trash, but you probably didn't know that right beside all those laserdiscs are a shit ton of breast implants. That's right, those are literally crates of silicone breast implants. I think the Bobs, Zemeckis, and Gale might have been a bit boob-obsessed on this film because they also hid this breast implant commercial in the movie. You know, hid might actually not be the right word because super inflatable tit isn't exactly subtle. I'm kind of wondering how they even managed to get a PG rating, what with the super tits and all. Moving on. I bet you didn't know Roger Rabbit is in Back to the Future 2. He's literally in it right there with this little Easter egg in the window. But he's in it again later on. Don't you see him? He's right there. This guy playing Terry is played by Charles Fleischer, who is the voice of Roger Rabbit.
Give me the wheels! Give me the wheels!
Since Robert Zemeckis directed Who Framed Roger Rabbit, he was able to work Charlie Fleischer into Back to the Future 2 in a bit part. By the way, if you guys would ever be interested in a Things You Didn't Know on Who Framed Roger Rabbit, hit the thumbs up and let us know in the comments, because we'd totally do it. I have not one, but 2 actors who you probably didn't know, or who you probably forgot, are part of the Back to the Future universe. The first, Billy f***ing Zane. There he is right there as one of Biff's cronies. Back to the Future was actually his first movie ever. Seriously, check his IMDb if you don't believe me. I thought we'd establish more trust in that, but whatever, I'm not hurt. Not really, anyway. Anyway, the other actor who you probably didn't know about was this little guy, Elijah Wood. Incidentally, Back to the Future 2 was Elijah Wood's first movie ever. Way to go, Wood! You've come a long way from playing Video Game Boy.
You have to use your hands? That's like a baby's toy.
Here's a Back to the Future 2 / Back to the Future 3 crossover thing you probably didn't know. See Doc's shirt in this scene from the second film? The costume department used the material from this shirt in 2 to make Doc's bandana in the third movie. That's just one of many subtle things the production team did to tie all of the movies together, and it was made all the more possible by shooting the 2 sequels back to back. Yeah, in case you didn't know, Back to the Future 2 and 3 were shot one immediately after the other, so it was like one huge movie that took a year to do. The storylines of the 2 films were originally written as one movie, which was going to be Back to the Future 2, but it would have made the sequel too big, too long, and too expensive. So they split it up. Once the second movie went into edit, they got to work on shooting the third. Remember, this is pre-Lord of the Rings, so it was a huge deal to do that at the time. And, I'm calling it, that's another bonus thing I didn't know. Sorry. Last thing. Back to the Future is a great title. It's clever, catchy, and it actually makes sense. But the movie was almost called something else. When they were making the first film, the head of Universal, not just the studio, but the head of the whole company, was a guy named Sid Sheinberg. He didn't have many notes during production, but since he was everyone's boss, his notes carried a lot of weight. And he hated the title Back to the Future. He insisted that no one would go see a movie with the word future in the title, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but whatever. So he offered a different title, which I think we all can agree would have really, changed everything. His title was Spaceman from Pluto. He thought it would be a perfect tie-in with the Farmer Kids comic book about space zombies from Pluto. The filmmakers were in a serious panic that they would be forced to go with Sid Sheinberg's bullshit movie title, but in the end, Steven Spielberg swooped in and managed to finesse the situation so that they were able to keep the title Back to the Future, and the rest is history. Actual history, not time-traveling, altering the past kind of history. That's all the time we have for today, but if you guys want a part 2 with more things on the Back to the Future movies, we can definitely make that happen. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out Cinefix.com and subscribe for more true-ish things about movies, and sometimes Michael J. Fox, right here on Things You Didn't Know.